right, we're here to talk about this little stubby Space Junk Sabers Adept, I believe. It comes from the Jedi Academy video games, I believe. If I've got that wrong, somebody will correct me in the comments. Yeah, this is the second of two commissions that came to me from a returning client that were done by Nevin at Space Junk Sabers. So these are my first Space Junk installs, but I will say, went pretty smoothly, just a matter of time of going and getting all the detail I wanted to in the chassis, which we will talk about right now. So let's hop down to the table, talk about what went on with the electronics, show off a little bit of the Saber itself, because obviously Nevin does a great job of going over detail, and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks for checking it out. All right, so this is the second of two Space Junk Sabers that came my way via a returning customer. And this is, I believe, based off the Jedi Academy Adept. Obviously, Nevin took his creative license with it, like with this lampshade accent, which is super cool, by the way. This is what I love about Nevin's work. Highly detailed attention to details with the greeblies. This did come with an LED bezel. So what I did was I tried to make sure I could get an accent pixel underneath there, and we were able to do that successfully. Although we do have a short, stubby chassis that is fully removable. So yeah, we'll just take a quick minute to go over this. I don't know much about either the game. I think it's a video game that comes from. We do have a blade plug here. This is your blade retention screw. Another thing I like about Nevin's work, at least on these two Sabers that I've been lucky enough to install, is that you don't need an Allen key to access anything. The pommels unscrew, and then you've got a knurled retention screw for both of these Sabers. So up top, we've got the Shadowfoil Neopixel emitter. I mentioned this on the other install video that I'm filming at the same time. Thankfully, on this particular set of installs, I finally discovered how to subdivide the inner rings into 3 concentric rings with the help of Frederick on the Crucible. So there's actually 4 subblade styles here because of the way the layout is, in order to get the odd number spacing on the inner 2 rings. That was how I was able to do that. But because we do have a short stubby chassis, I was only able to get some accents on here. I couldn't quite fit a kill switch. So what we did was we resin printed a highly detailed greeblie chassis. Here's our single Neopixel. So this is one of those segmented 2020 strips that come at like a 5mm spacing. So this is just a single offcut. And then I've covered it with liquid tape so that none of the contacts have any issues. But we've got a 28mm fully enclosed bass speaker right up next to it. So that was the challenge. There are some other manufacturers that make like a PCB with a 1515 or a 2020 on it. But because those get a little bit thicker and we're right up next to the speaker, I didn't want to chance that. So yeah. So clearly identified positive, negative labels here with Nevin's company name there. We have a 2020 Neopixel strip under this section of greeblies, under a Mylar strip. I got that tip from Tim at Tierfon Orbital, so thanks for that. But yeah, we just did a pass of pewter rub and buff, and then a bunch of like individual miniature painting details. So let's see if we can get some of this to focus. So just a bunch of little accents of color here and there with gold, copper, blue, green, yellow, red. So we are sporting a Proffie V3 with OS 7. So yeah, we got a flexible Edison filament on this end. So we've got, and then this is subdivided into outer and then an inner strip. We'll see that light up here in a second. So again, I mentioned this on the previous install, but this Proffie is kicked at an angle, so you don't need to remove anything to get access to either the USB. You will need tweezers to get the SD card if you're going to do any programming. If you do, because it's so close to this terminal, you may have to just kind of lightly, you can sort of hear it click there. It just like comes up like a fraction of a millimeter to pass by. So just make sure you push it down fully when everything's ready to go back in the Saber. So In order to get this accent pixel aligned, we've got this bump out. Let me show that here on the Saber. So I mentioned this again on the other install, but what I was able to do was come in here and put some neodymium magnets just so that this D-ring isn't flopping around. This D-ring's a little bit thinner than the other one, so it's not as strong of a connection, but ideally you can swing it around without getting much D-ring noise. But these magnets aren't as strong as a single magnet. So unscrew the pommel, right? You can see our Shtok Rotary PCB down there in there with the pogo pins. And then you can see on this side, we've got that little curved cutout section where this round greeblie aligns. And then that helps us get our accent lined up here. So let's put a battery in. Now I am providing this because we have such a short stubby chassis. This is an 18500. I believe it's 2300 milliamp hours. So it's not as much as a regular 18650, but it's a little bit more than what you might get on an 18350. So a little bit more. And then I think this also has a little bit higher output than an 18350, so it can power the Neopixels. And then I just did a quick custom battery wrap so that, you know, it kind of, so we get our boot sound. I don't remember which font I left off on. Looks like Liquid Static probably. So we can see those outer pixels. And I think we do have twist on and twist off, so I've clearly just activated it there. So there's our blinking. So the Edison filaments and these things do different animations in the on and off state. Let's see if we can get this to focus here. So this one's more of a solid color, but it should react. You can see you get a little bit brighter there. Same thing on that one. All right, so let's put it in the Saber here. Again, we're gonna line that up. And you'll see it just falls right in. And then the nice thing about this pommel is that it pushes up against the outer ring. I probably could have got a little bit more length if I figured out how to get this to fit in this keyway here. But what I figured is we'll get better sound because now we have a 28 millimeter speaker that's offset this like almost inch. So this sounds beefy AF. We've got Kalymian Custom Sabers copper topped soft switches here that Nevin provided. So here we can see animations just a little bit different. And then if we hit the power, left is power, left upper is power, lower right is aux. So this is a 1-inch blade depth. You can see what I mean with that D-ring not flopping around as much. It will flop around, but not as much as it would have. You can put a 1-inch demo blade here real quick and see that light up. Shine through there. So these fonts are provided by the client. This is very similar to an install I did for him not too long ago in the summer. Both of these have all of the same fonts and more. There's more on the SD card than I programmed. I only programmed 25 presets, so I could leave about 10% of the space for the client to do his own programming, which on Proffie V3 is actually quite a bit of space. Also using the new OS 7 feature set that FET263 rolled out. with the using function means that I've got a couple styles in there that he can use for every accent if he wants to do something unique on each of those, as well as a couple just standard like old school looking blade styles. You can just switch out the color and the on and off features, and then the blast and the block up colors, and then you'll have a new blade style. And really you're not doing any extra programming with regard to space on the config. So yeah, so let's just go over a couple more things here. Let's go back here.
Party Saber.
Okay, so Party Saber is the first preset, just like it was on his last install. So this does have the party mode, which means the special features, with the Saber on is hold and twist one direction, either button, and you'll do a number of things. So, but what I did do on the pommel accent for this is to match the blade. All of the rest of the presets, the pommel accent is just something similar to what's going on in the chassis. It doesn't necessarily match up to the blade because this particular client said he likes it when not every single color is the same. So that being said, boot up the Saber, right? We're in party mode. If we hold and twist to the left, and I did include that sound. I don't think I did it on the first rollout because I probably downloaded it before they updated that transition sound. So now you know when you're in party mode. So an accent swing will change color. Oops, I think I turned it off actually. All right, so now we're on. There we go. So each hard accent swing will change the color randomly. So, and then it will change the hum. So you can see pommel accent is matching the blade color. And then again, to turn it off is hold aux, twist to the left until you get that little transition sound. Again, you can do a number of other changes if you do like with the power button or with the aux and rotating right or left. Yeah. So again, this is an 18500, so it's not going to last as long, but it still has the same timeout period as the other Saber, which is at 10 minutes. So if you want to take some photos or something like that, then just make sure you're like turning it on every now and then, because otherwise if it's in the off state, just sitting around, it will time out. I don't know how much I showed on this particular one, so let's just see. So we got a pulsing there. I think for the most part, no, it looks like this is party mode, so that's gonna match. For a lot of the presets, what I did do is match this to one of these two accent colors. So on this particular set of 2020 strips, because the spacing is more dense, this is a more uniform color. I mentioned this on the Scrap Flex from Nevin, which will be a separate video. That you can actually see the separate color, the middle blade, the separate individual pixels a little bit more, even though the Mylar strip's the same and kind of the accents are the same. But yeah. These different on and off colors, different animations. Same thing goes for the Edison filament. Sometimes it's blinking, sometimes it's a pulsing. In the on state, it could be solid, it could be blinking, it could be pulsing, could be doing random. But for the most part, what I did was the color is such that activation colors like clashes and stuff are brighter than the normal operating color. Right? So that we can see that. And that's just something I like to see. See if we can just kind of go over some of these greeblies and paint job. I did a similar thing on this particular paint job where with my miniature paints and brush, I came over these panels with a silver. In regular lighting, it looks almost the same as the pewter rub and buff, but because it has a different sheen quality, you can sort of see it looks like a gunmetal in the right light, which is a little bit different than the rub and buff. But yeah, it just kind of mixed some colors here to get like the difference between copper and gold And then, we've got red, green, yellow, blue, mostly primary or secondary colors. Here's obviously my battery wrap. But just went overboard on the greeblie detail on these two sabers for Nevin, because the job I did for this customer back in the summer was about this level of detail. So since I set myself up for that level of expectation, I kind of had to match it here. But here we got the universal greeblie over here. Can't forget that. We got the little faux resistors. Something I like to do. All right, so let's put a blade in it. This, like the other one, is set up for a 32-inch blade length. This is a 1-inch. The other one is a 7/8, but they're both set up for 32-inch blade length. Obviously, this one's going to last a little bit shorter with this smaller battery. So let's put a blade in. Okay, so up top you saw me show off party mode, and I just kind of tried to show off the fact that the blade colors match with this little pommel accent. Showed that down below as well. Went over most of the stuff that I'm going to cover for this particular client down with the chassis. I've set them both up for a 32-inch blade length, which I am demoing with a KR pixel stick. This is the same 7/8. I've just got a little 1-inch adapter here so that I can use this. It shows up better on screen, even though it's kind of washed out with this ambient lighting. But yeah, so I'm going to show off a couple blade styles here and then hopefully just kind of wrap it up real quick. Again, a returning client, so most of the information is the same. This is sporting Proffie V3 with OS 7. The most recent, I think, is 7.12, which is what I have on here. Party mode is up top, just like it was for this client's sabers I did in the summer. Most of these presets are the same. I did a few new presets because he provided additional fonts. All of the fonts that he provided and that I'm demoing came from him and are on the SD card. There's like a whole lot, but I only programmed 25 to leave some space for this client to do his own programming as he learns Proffie. So there's about 10% of space on the config. So all the survivor fonts are the first up on the preset list. Again, there's about 25. The last is a battery level indicator.
Battery level.
So I'm pointing the hilt down to go backwards. You can also press and hold, I think, and get into edit mode select. You can see here with this 18500, we're like a little less than 50%. But if we want a quick readout,
battery level 46%.
You can hold aux and tap power in the off state of any font or preset selection. Obviously, this style shows off with 32-inch length. It'll be fully at the tip. And then as it gets drained, it'll be closer to the tip. I have also programmed most of the accents to go from green to red. And this is probably getting washed out on camera, but that's a yellowish. I forget how it colors on the blade. Maybe blue to yellow to, I don't know. But
party saber.
Now we're at the top. And then again, hit aux in the off state to move forward. Point the hilt down to go backwards. You can obviously also hold and rotate. Instructions for that are on the printout or on the FET263 prop file. So we'll just show off a couple blade styles here. So I hit power, which means we're just in regular mode, which means clashes are clashes. If we want to engage a lockup, we have to hold either aux or power and clash the saber. Lockups are also, blade tip effects like melt to drag. Right? So sideways would be melt and down would be drag. Okay. But if we chose to either twist on or thrust on, those gesture controls will jump into battle mode, which means a clash is now a lockup until you pull the blade away. It's the same for all the installs I do, with the exception of a few sabers I've done in the past. I've turned that off, mostly because I assumed that was the preferred method. But yeah.
Master Seer Junda.
So party mode is the only one that I've matched the accent to the blade. The presets from there on may or may not match because this particular client likes to see a variety both in the chassis and on the saber. So for instance, this is like a yellowish while the blade is cyan. If you do want to change color, you can hold Ox and tap power, rotate the saber. You got Hu Yang as the voice pack on this one, announcing the colors. So I'm just going to cancel, which is Ox, but if you wanted to accept it, you press power. Now, I think I mentioned down below, but because I do a mix of OS 7, OS 6, and whatever styles, those may change all of the may change all of the accents. So if you want to specifically change the blade color that I selected, you can jump into edit mode, which just in the off state, you hold both.
My name is Dagon Gera.
Jedi Knight Dagon Gera.
Sid, Ninth Sister.
So I've mentioned this on the other install demo, but Ninth Sister from Kyberphonic on this Party Survivor bundle is one of my new favorite fonts because of how beefy that hum is, which sounds superb because of Nevin's construction. The offset that the pommel pushes the chassis up in makes for a really good resin chamber, and the fact that it's fully enclosed. It's probably not sounding great on my iPhone camera here, but in person this sounds good. So I've set the volume at about 2500, and you can hear it's not distorting or anything like that, but you can generally push those a little hotter. I try not to, because you start to battle between false clashes and stuff like that, or drain the battery too fast. But I set these up kind of ideally for each saber that I install. So again, these are both at 2500 and they sound phenomenal. So again, all of these are very similar to the presets I set up on the last set of installs for this client. This is a lot like the saber I've done for Starfall installs. So this is color change direct. So hard to tell, but it's going from purple to white. And we're starting to hear some crackle. It's probably ever so quiet, but that's because we're getting into the low battery territory.
Battery level 31%.
We're at 31, so now I'm starting to hear some crackle. It's not immediately obvious, but so let me just show off a few more, and then we'll wrap it up.
Master Seer Junda. Morgan Elspeth.
This is the new Blade of Talzin that Brian Connor created the blade style for, based off the Ahsoka show, which is probably not doing very justice in this lighting setup, but it's very cool. And I'm mostly showing these off because these are new presets that I didn't include on the last one for this customer.
Balan Skull.
Wrong. Ezra?
So I just double tapped power to start muted. And now we're in some grayscale. So probably going to hear crackle a lot more because these blade styles demand a lot of the battery. So yeah, that's going to wrap up this so that I don't have to deal with all the battery level stuff. But again, so if you have any questions to the viewer, put them in the comments. I'll try to check that every now and again. But thank you to the customer for your patience on these two. It was a delight to finally get some Space Junk Sabers underhand. And thanks to Nevin for making this pretty easy to do. So yeah, thanks for watching.